Greetings, everyone who happen to be watching this recording. My name is Patrick Miller. I'm the president of the Amarillo Branch NAACP. We are here live at the Amarillo College main Washington Street campus here in Amarillo, Texas, inside of the Oak Room. We're very appreciative of all of our sponsors, especially Amarillo College, for providing us with this venue today. This is our September 2022 General Election Candidates Forum. We will feature Potter County Justice of the Peace Precinct 2, Potter County Commissioner Precinct 2, Potter County Judge, as well as the United States Congressional District 13 races today. Without further ado, I will like to introduce to you the candidates running for Potter County Commissioner Precinct 2, Mr. Blair Schaefer, and the current Commissioner, Mr. Robert Ruiz. Please, you're invited. And obviously, for those who are viewing this recording, you may have heard an applause. That's not anything fed in. We have family, friends, neighbors here, voters here in Amarillo who are going to be interested in these races, who have elected to join us today, so we're certainly appreciative of them. We apologize in advance for any technical errors. I'm sure those would be mine alone. All right, just so you're aware, gentlemen, we're going to give you each 30 seconds to provide opening remarks, opening statements, what have you, and then we will ask questions. You'll have 1 minute to answer questions. If your name is mentioned in the other's response, you have an opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal, only if your name is mentioned. Otherwise, we'll flow through the questions, and then at the very end, you'll have another 30 seconds to have closing remarks. Okay. Our chairman, David Martinez, will be managing the time, so you feel free to look at him if you need to. Otherwise, we will begin. All right. Commissioner Ruiz, would you like to begin with a 30-second opening statement?
Yes, my name is Robert Ruiz, Potter County Commissioner. I've lived in the Precinct 2 for over 37 years. I'm married to my wife, Veronica, for over 40 years. I have 3 children, 6 grandchildren. I attended the public schools here in Amarillo, San Bernardino Elementary, Bowie Middle School, and Capital High School.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Schaefer.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today. My name is Blair Schaefer. Went to Hamlet, Horseman, and Paladuro. Grew up here in Amarillo my whole life. Went to the U.S. Navy for 4 years as a cryptologic technician. Worked at the prison as a sergeant for 12 and a half years. I've been a fireman here in Amarillo for 16 years and also own 3 businesses here in Amarillo. I want to thank you all for having the opportunity for me to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you both, gentlemen. So our first question is going to go to Mr. Schaefer. Which components of the county budget do you believe the Commissioner's Court should prioritize?
The first things you got to look at prioritizing is to make sure we have a safe community. So you want to make sure that your sheriff department, your fire department is taken care of, and of course the judicial system. Make sure that the budget they need is given to them so that they can operate and perform safely and keep the community safe. Thank
you, sir. Commissioner Ruiz, same question.
Yes, the sheriff's department's always the number 1 priority. Judicial, we have cases coming in and out of the judicial system. It's important for us to get those cases moving. There's a lot of people sitting in these jails before they get transferred to a TDC facility, so we need to make sure that they have the right funding for their attorneys. And also this year they've started the PDMAC program, which is a program for indigent defendants that have not been able to hire an attorney. So that's a great program that's coming up in the works. So we're hoping that can help us out.
Thank you. Our second question, we'll begin with Commissioner Ruiz. What are the greatest infrastructure needs facing Potter County, or specifically Potter County Precinct 2 at this present moment?
Well, I think the Amarillo Boulevard has been a kind of been a back burner for a lot of the stuff that's been going on. I think we need to kind of spread some light over there. You know, these folks that have been working in the northeast area have worked so hard, and they just need to revitalize that area. The businesses that have been vacant for so many years, they're coming in to revitalize those businesses, but what happens is they run into these speed bumps, getting the codes passed, and they can't follow through. But that's something that I wish that we could kind of shed some light on, and that's something I'm willing to work for.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schaefer, same question. What are the greatest infrastructure needs facing Potter County, particularly Potter County Precinct 2 at this present time?
Emerald Boulevard is a really big area to look at. One of the things I like about the Emerald Boulevard being looked at and worked upon is it's also Route 66. So you got Highway 60, Emerald Boulevard, Business I-40, and Route 66. So Route 66 100-year birthday is about to be coming up in 2026. And there will be opportunities for grants and other opportunities to develop that. Another great thing about Route 66 is it runs through all 4 quadrants or all 4 precincts within Potter County. So it enters right there at Precinct 3, and then at the city limits it enters at Precinct 2, and that would be a great area to start focusing on getting funds from the state and from the national level as well as local level to develop that area.
Thank you, sir. All right, our next question, we'll begin with Mr. Schaefer. What needs to happen to ensure greater economic development within Potter County Precinct 2?
One of the things I believe that needs to be really looked upon is housing within Potter County. Over the past 10 years, Potter County has went down by 3,500 in population, while Randall County has grown by over 20,000. So we need to look at how we can provide more infrastructure, particularly housing within the area, working with developers, working with realtors, and just grow our community as well as the community that's already there, making sure they still get the love and attention so they can grow and develop as well also.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Reese?
Yes, as these new companies are starting to come in, Amazon, we have the chemical plant that's fixing to come, the producers on beef, they're going to have a lot of jobs available. Of course, all the workers from the Tyson, it's a lot of growth in that area. So yes, we need to build and be ready for that economic boom that's going to come in the next 10 years. We need to be prepared, and I think there is a plan, and I'm just I'm on board, ready to see that happen.
Thank you, sir. Our next question, Commissioner Reese, will begin first. How would you describe the recently created Potter County Defenders Court?
Well, I think it's a great program. We have Jason is in charge of the total department, and then we have Viviana, who disperse of the fellowship attorneys to each case. So that's something that's been provided by grant money from the state. So what we're looking at is to improve it in the next few years. Of course, as it generates its experience, I'm hoping that in the next few years it's going to be self-funded, and hopefully in the years to come there's going to be more grant money to provide for those indigent defendants.
Thank you. And I apologize, I misspoke. Should have said office, not court. Mr. Schaefer, same question. How would you describe the recently created Potter County Defender's Office?
To me, I haven't got to research it a whole lot, but I have been going to Commissioner Court meetings and watching this. The whole system seems to be coming together quite well. Looks like they've got some good leaders up in that position to take charge of it and get it operating and functioning. I think it's a good service to have to make sure that the indigent defenders are moved throughout the court system, make sure they have proper representation, and make sure that they get their day in court and it's properly heard.
Thank you, sir. Our next question from Mr. Schaefer. What are your concerns regarding the potential establishment of a mental health hospital in Potter County?
I believe that's something that is very important because this region up here doesn't have a long-term mental health facility or state facility for that. We just have the pavilion out at Northwest Texas Hospital, which is good, but it's more of for a crisis situation. And as a fireman, I see all the time people needing long-term mental care, whether they're on the streets or I'm making calls on them in their house. And I think that's something that needs to be looked upon, and it would be great to get some state and, of course, local assistance to make sure a hospital here is established.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ruiz, same question.
So I believe that the property has already been donated to the city of Amarillo for the state mental hospital. I know that the sheriff's office and judge had been down to Austin to legislate for this to happen. Ford Price is a person that's has advocated. It's in its beginning process. It's been talked about on a table, but I think it's something that is much needed. There's a lot of course, mental subjects that are out there that need medication. They need this state facility. In order for us to help that, we need a facility. I think the closest one is I believe it's in Wichita Falls.
Thank you, sir. And final question prior to closing remarks. Commissioner Ruiz, you will have this first. What experience in your background, perhaps even including your current capacity in service, prepares you to serve as the Potter County Commissioner for Precinct 2?
So I've been a lead bailiff for the city of Amarillo. I've been under the direction of a presiding judge and many previous judges. So I've had some experience with the public over the years as far as being a board member for many organizations, nonprofit organizations. I've been involved with many programs to provide maybe a youth community that brought families together. We built on that, and now it's still going strong. I believe in investing in our youth for our communities and just providing them great scholarship opportunities so they can continue their education, so they can become leaders here. And we want to keep them here. As they graduate here, they go to school here, Amarillo College, WT, and they stay here. They get their education. They go to here in Amarillo. That's the goal. Is to keep them here instead of having to move to another part of the state where they make more money.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. Mr. Schaefer, what experience in your background prepares you to serve as the Potter County Commissioner Precinct 2?
I believe I have a lot of experience that will help me in this endeavor. Like I said, I did 4 years in the U.S. Navy, learned a lot over there, got to see a lot of the world and how it worked and operated and what to bring back and what not to bring back to this area. I've worked with teams, whether it's just from 4 people up to supervising over 80 people at a time. I'm used to working in a high stress, active environment. I'm used to making decisions quickly. I'm also very big on making sure my research is done. If I need to, I'll gain wiser counsel or somebody that's more of an area expert before I make my decisions if it's a complicated decision to make. I also own 3 businesses here in Amarillo, and being just a local businessman, I believe that goes a long ways in seeing what the people need in the area and helping to guide them, and also just to make decisions on budget and how to run departments and give advice to department heads, as well as listen to them and hearing what they need to do to make the county run better.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, we've reached the time for closing statements. Mr. Schaefer, you have 30 seconds to deliver your remarks.
Once again, I want to thank everybody for listening today. Your vote counts, so I want to encourage you to get out and vote. I would hope the vote would be for me, but if not, make sure you make a wise decision. And just thank you for the opportunity. I'm your Republican candidate for Potter County Commissioner Precinct 2.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ruiz, you have 30 seconds.
Yes, your voice is your vote, so make sure you get out there and vote. Do your research. I would say you want to trust the person that's best fit for that position. If you have the experience and you feel like you have the strong support, then the voters have to take that action and make that decision. Your voice matters.
Thank you, gentlemen. For those watching, I hope you've enjoyed this slate of candidates, Mr. Blair Schaefer and County Commissioner Robert Ruiz. And to our live audience, we appreciate your interest in this race. All right, next up, ladies and gentlemen who are watching this at home and those in our live audience, we will now feature the Potter County Justice of the Peace Court, Precinct 2. I do not believe we have anyone representing the Robert Taylor campaign, but we do have Mr. De Leon with us today. Please come forward. Okay, Mr. De Leon, as outlined in the previous slate of candidates, you will have 30 seconds for opening remarks. You'll have 1 minute to answer the questions. Obviously, no rebuttal unless we're rebutting Casper.
Right.
And you will have 30 seconds for closing remarks.
Okay.
All right. So, Mr. De Leon, you have your 30 seconds.
My name is David De Leon. Currently work for the Potter County Sheriff's Department as a deputy. I've also worked for the Sheriff's Office in Smith County for approximately 5 years. I graduated from WT, majored in criminal justice. Also attended the Panhandle Regional Law Enforcement Academy, where I graduated there. And now I'm currently assigned at the courthouse security, keeping the courthouse security secure.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We'll roll right into the questions. So, how do you plan to improve the perception of the Justice of the Peace Court for which you are a candidate?
I'm here to implement all the duties and responsibilities of the Justice of the Peace, make sure everybody has a fair and just and impartial court, and the Justice of the Peace Court.
Okay, thank you, sir. Will your political views influence the outcome of your verdicts? And if not, how do you ensure that will never be the case?
No, I don't believe it will. But like I said, I'm here to represent the Justice of the Peace Court to the best of my ability, to represent my community and the judicial branch.
Thank you. How have you been proactive in making the possible transition from deputy to prospective judge, and what have you found to be most difficult about that?
I've been involved in community here lately a lot. I'm also been an intern in Judge Jones' office. I said to twice a week. He's teaching me how to do inquests, evictions, how to handle truancies, and all the responsibilities of the Justice of the Peace. So I've been there approximately almost 3 months being an intern in the Justice of the Peace Court. He's training me, getting me prepared to be a JP.
Thank you, sir. Would you please describe what your process would be for reviewing and issuing search and arrest warrants within the jurisdiction of the Justice of the Peace Court?
I would have to go follow all the duties, all the required laws of the Justice of Peace in handling warrants and evictions, etc.
Thank you, sir. How do you plan to oversee the vast financial responsibilities associated with the Office of Justice of the Peace?
I don't know that question right now, the answer to that question.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, what makes you qualified to serve as the Potter County Justice of the Peace for Precinct 2?
Well, I've been in law enforcement now for approximately 32 years. Like I said, I've attended WT, majored in criminal justice, Amala College, and I'm continuing also attending Amala College courses to keep up with my law enforcement training. And that's it.
All right. No, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And we've reached the time pretty expeditiously for your 30
Alrighty.
second.
My name is David Dillon. I'm seeking your vote and support November the 8th. I really need your support. I'm here to make changes in the Justice of the Peace with my experience, and I need your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a whole lot different when there's one person here. Give us just a moment to transition. All right, the very next race we are going to focus on will be that of Potter County Judge. Currently, the Potter County Judge is Nancy Tanner, but we have a write-in candidate here, Mr. Thomas Warren.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Warren, just as the offices before, you will have 30 seconds for opening remarks. Then we will roll into questions. You'll have up to a minute to answer each of those questions.
Okay.
And then you'll have a 30-second response.
All right.
All right, Mr. Warren.
Well, hey there. My name is Tom Warren. I'm running for write-in candidate for Potter County Judge. I really appreciate everybody showing to go ahead and participate in this, and I appreciate the time. So I think that we've got some great opportunities here. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Warren. First question is, how will you balance being an independent judge and an elected official?
Well, interestingly enough, the office of Potter County Judge is more of a manager, so it's more like the mayor of the county and everything. So it does have judicial oversight attached to it. However, you are basically the manager. So management is actually one of those things I've got a lot of experience with, and I think I can do pretty well as far as balancing that, because most of my stuff is going to be presiding over the Commissioner's Court and then managing the county and the affairs of it.
Thank you, sir. Which components of the county budget do you believe the Commissioner's Court should prioritize?
I think lots of things that should be prioritized in the budget would be, just like several of the other candidates have said, public safety. Public safety is a big part of it. You know, the sheriff's department, the fire department. So the basic things that the county needs, those citizens of the county, they actually need the public safety aspect of it, because that's what they look for the county for. And they also look for us to go ahead and better manage the county so that we can be more efficient with your tax dollars.
Thank you, sir. As the presiding officer of the Commissioner's Court, how would you ensure county constables receive equitable resources to fulfill their vast roles as county law enforcement officers?
Well, constables are really important part of county operations. You know, they do law enforcement. They do, they're actually people that are members of the court. They serve court papers and everything. So making sure that the county constables are properly compensated is a huge issue. And then making sure that they have the resources to carry out those jobs is an important part of it, because if they can go ahead and if they can push forward the paperwork and the things like that that are associated with the JP courts, then that falls back less on the staff, and those people can be more productive in their jobs.
You mentioned that this role is more managerial than judicial. However, in those circumstances in which you face prospective injustice in your court, how would you confront that?
Well, one of the main things to go ahead and ensure is that the majority of the functions that you actually do in the court are you're just basically a guide. And so one of the main functions of the county judge is to be a manager, and lots of times you'll see in lots of different counties, county judges going ahead and voting. They should only vote as somebody to break a tie, because that way nobody feels like that you're trying to push forward any particular agenda. And you go ahead and you make sure that you put forward your information best in an unbiased fashion so that they can go ahead and those people can make their decisions. And then only as a tiebreaker do you vote.
Now, with respect to anyone who has to appear before the court for any civil trial, how would you ensure that those rights of the accused are protected in a just manner?
Well, and that's one of the things that's really important about a judge is, even though it's managerial, you have to make sure that you go by the letter of the law and make sure that everybody gets fair opportunity. You know, you can't bring any kind of politics into it. You have to always look out for the rights of those people that are coming before the court, and then you also have to look out for the best interests of the taxpayers. And if you look out for the best interests of the taxpayers, every time you will be better.
Thank you, sir. As an emergency management director in times of peril, and we are still very much in a pandemic,
Yes, we are.
how will you prioritize public safety over political expediency?
There are lots of things that deal with political expediency that when you go back and you look at, that wasn't necessarily the best course of action. So you need to remember that taking care of the things that have to be taken care of, as far as making sure that an event that comes up that needs immediate attention, that everything is done by the letter of the law, and also done in such a fashion that the taxpayers get the best benefit out of it.
Thank you, sir. And finally, prior to your closing remarks, what experience in your background prepares you to serve as the Potter County Judge?
Well, I appreciate you asking. I'm a lifelong resident of Potter County in Amarillo, Texas. I've owned several businesses. I've been self-employed since I was a teenager, so I've never worked for anybody else. And so I actually understand that if you are the kind of person that you're self-employed, that the better that you manage your business, the better that you receive benefit from it. And the same thing goes with a county or municipality. If that's better managed, then the taxpayers get better benefit. And at the same time, you can keep taxes lower. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking for putting my management experience to work to make sure that we can keep taxes low, that we can go ahead and give the citizens of the county maximum benefit, and that you've got a fair and unbiased person working for you.
Thank you, sir. And finally, for your 30-second closing remarks.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Tom Warren. I'm running as a write-in for county judge, so you'd have to click the write-on button and go type Tom Warren in. But I am really interested in putting my management experience to work for you guys.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Potter County. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the point that many of you have been really seeking out, and this race has drawn a lot of interest. Obviously, it's a very large race, and it's a federal government seat. It is that of the United States Congressional District of Texas, number 13. Unfortunately, we do not have U.S. Representative Ronnie Jackson with us today, nor any of his representatives. However, we are pleased to have his Democratic opponent from Wichita Falls, Ms. Kathleen Brown.
Thank you so much.
All right, just as before, you will have 30 seconds for an
Sure.
opening remark. You will have 1 minute to answer each of the questions, and then you'll have 30 seconds in which to close.
Okay.
The time is yours, Ms. Brown.
All right. Hi, my name is Kathleen Brown. I'm from Wichita Falls. I am an attorney there. I've been an attorney for 20 years. I practice primarily high conflict divorces and custody. Prior to that, I did in medical malpractice and wrongful death claims. Before I became a lawyer, I was a respiratory therapist from the time I was 19 till I was 27, while I worked through my bachelor's degree on the 8-year program. And I decided now is the time to go ahead and try and put my representation to good use. And I'm looking forward to representing each and every one of you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Brown, as you have traveled across the vast 13th Congressional District of Texas, what have you learned about the needs of rural Texans?
So of the 38 counties in my district, every single county has a rural community, including Denton, which is Crum. And primarily the people in the rural areas, I live in rural Archer County myself, we're basically needing to live the same standard of living as people in urban areas. We need water resources, we need high-speed internet, we need at least a nurse practitioner, we need a grocery store, we need a swimming pool or a splash pad or something for our children. We need roads that are car-worthy. Everyone wants us to have car-worthy or road-worthy cars. How about some roads that are worthy of our cars? So that's some of the biggest issues they need. They need help making sure that people who are drilling aren't dumping the wastewater into the groundwater so that people in Wilbarger can actually drink their water because they can't. So there's a lot of real issues, and we need real representation, people who'll go in there and get the job done instead of fighting with each other over a power struggle.
Thank you very much. Ms. Brown, what type of legislation would you propose to strengthen our economy and bring jobs back to the 13th Congressional District of Texas?
One of the biggest issues we have is with our economy right now, or is legislation that I see, is we never get anything done. Okay, it's always voted along party lines. So what we need to do to strengthen our economy is something that I'm very interested in, and we can always learn from things that didn't go well, right? We learned the hard way when there was a chip shortage that we should not be outsourcing everything to China, because that left us very vulnerable. So one of the things I would work very diligently on is finding ways, first, to get our water conserved, because we're not going to bring manufacturing jobs back if we don't have the water to support our cities. I mean, that's just the reality. But second, then we need to really encourage our legislation to make sure that our legislators make sure we have manufacturing jobs here. My city, Wichita Falls, used to be called the manufacturing city of Texas. We had over 117 manufacturing facilities. We don't have any now because we don't have water. So first and foremost, I have to get us the water we need, the water conservation we need so that we can build. And after we do that, then I would encourage through tariffs. I'm sorry, but China should not be able to bring their stuff over and sell it too cheap, and then we can't compete. So I would impose certain tariffs and taxes to make sure that we get the first bite at the apple when we're trying to sell to our Americans.
Ms. Brown. We have seen Republican governors, including Mr. Abbott, send migrants from Texas to destinations across our nation to bring attention to the congressional inaction regarding immigration. Therefore, what solutions would you propose to fix our broken immigration system while preserving the sovereignty of our southern border?
My son-in-law is from Mexico himself, so I know firsthand what it's like to have to deal with the immigration process through my son-in-law. And it is broken in that if you want to come here and work, and you know what we need migrant workers here, especially in the agricultural area, okay, and to work in building and working in landscaping. But it's so broken. There's so many regulations that you've got to be rich first before you can actually come over. Or the farmer or the rancher, he's got to put so much money up that to me makes no sense before he can bring someone over. So first and foremost, we have to make sure that we have legislation in place that will allow people who have been fully vetted to come over and work. Second, we need to put money into our asylum judges, okay? Because that's why we have a problem with the backlog. We are not processing these people, and so they're backlogged and we can't get through it. And third and foremost, you can never fix a problem if you don't find the cause of the problem. And if you're not aware right now, the three biggest countries that are coming over illegally, migrants, are El Salvador, I believe Nicaragua, and Honduras. That's because they're so corrupt. And yet we spend 20 years and $300 million a day in Afghanistan, and we don't focus on the problem right next door to us. And we wonder, after 20 and 30 years of ignoring all the corruption down there, how it hasn't come home to roost. So one of the things you have to do is you have to find the cause of the problem, isolate it, and eradicate it. And so those are the three things I would do, all right? I would fund our judge system so that the asylum process goes through. I would make sure we focus on dealing with corruption in the three countries that are causing the most illegal migration. And I would make sure that our immigration system works so that people who are hardworking and want to contribute to our society can do so.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. What, if anything, is the role of Congress regarding the burden of student loan debt held by millions of Americans?
Okay, so this is where I'll get in trouble with my Democratic friends, but I believe that if we're going to forgive student loans, we need to, because we are in so much debt. You know, we can't just keep spending money like we can pour water on it and grows on trees, right? So if we're going to forgive student loan debt, it needs to be for those high demand jobs that we've got to have. Teachers, 77% of teachers are quitting. Nurses, we have to get nurses and respiratory therapists back. Mental health care providers. Did you know in Texas, even if we had the money to pay for all the mental health care needed, we only have 35% of the professionals to treat the people in crisis. And then we wonder why we have gun shootings in our schools. We have to start dealing with the problem. Instead, we fight with each other and we wonder why we are in this position that we're in today.
Ms. Brown. If the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, was ever repealed, what type of legislation would you propose to ensure Americans residing in the 13th Congressional District of Texas still had access to quality health care?
Two things that I don't understand. One, I don't understand why everybody cannot invest in a health savings account. It's only if you waste perfectly good dollars on a high deductible health care plan that you can even invest in your health savings account, which makes no sense to me. Second, I think we need to have universal payer, what I call at least emergency, not emergency care, but hospital care, okay? Because whether or not you have insurance, believe me, I know from the laws I've done, if someone's without insurance, you do pay for their health care. You do. So what hospitals do now is they do this thing called a trauma code. And so if someone comes in the emergency room, they jack up the price. They tack on $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, whether it was a car wreck or a stroke. And how they calculate it is they figure out how many people are not going to pay their bill. And then they look around for all you people who are insured, and they pass that bill on to you, which increases your healthcare costs, which increases your premiums. So you still pay for it. So the best two things I would do is, one, make sure that if we have universal hospitalization coverage, that will ease a lot of stress for most people. Second, if everyone can invest in a health savings account, then they're going to be more in control of their money, and they'll use that wisely to make sure, do I really need to go to the doctor for this sniffle, or should I wait? And I think those are the two things we can do without any real cost to taxpayers that will at least help us get a little closer to not having this shot in the dark shotgun effect on healthcare coverage.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. With the solvency of Social Security expected to expire by 2035, what type of legislation would you propose to protect the senior citizens in this district who depend on these benefits?
Okay, this is easy, all right? Rich people don't pay the same percent we do, and that's just a fact. You and I, 138, once we pay once we earn $138,000, which most of us don't, right? We pay 7.5%, give or take, with Social Security and Medicare, right? And then realistically, we pay the other 7.5% because our boss lowers our wage so that they can cover their share. I mean, that's the reality. If you're self-employed like Mr. Warren, I mean, that stinks. It's 15%, and that sucker hurts. I know. I had a $20,000 bill one year. But what's going on, which is awful, what's going on is once you make over $138,000, if you make $1,138,000, you only pay Social Security for your $138,000. The rest is free. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. Now that's the first end. So I would lift that cap. The second thing I would do, now this is going to blow your mind because it blew mine, okay? When you are 72 and you can't pay your bills, so you have to go work at Walmart and you got to, be the friendly person, and for every $2 you make over a certain limit, they take $1 off, right? But they don't have to do it for capital gains. So when Warren Buffett gets, I don't know however much he gets, $15 billion in capital gains, he doesn't get a dollar for dollar deduction. So he still gets his Social Security. Okay, but you working in Walmart don't. So I would fix those two things that would make sure we have the funding we need for Social Security.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Can there be a question from the floor?
Following these questions, we'll certainly allow that. Historically, presidential incumbents suffer losses in congressional influence during midterm election cycles. Therefore, how do you plan to govern effectively if you find yourself elected and serving in the minority party?
Well, the thing is, like I said, what I do for a living, I deal with high conflict. They, want to tear each other's throat out over the kid divorces. That's what I do. And the reason I get so many of those cases is I have a knack for talking to people and say, okay, what is our common goal? Let's find our common goal. Next, let's work on what we can agree to, okay? Because you have to do that. There are things, believe it or not, most people can agree to. And then once we come to that common ground, at a point you have to just call some things a win and some things a loss, You've got to know, okay, when I'm negotiating with this person, does he have to have the win? Does he have to have the final say? If they do, and it's what I call a throwaway, I'm like, all right, fine, you can have it. Then you just throw it away and let them have it. But the problem is we've stopped governing and started politicking. And that's all we got. And I can't do anything about that, right? But you, in the most conservative district in the United States, If you choose to get rid of one of the most divisive people in Congress right now and put in a moderate Democrat who owns guns, who believes that we need to cut our our deficit, who believes that we shouldn't tax our way out of a problem, but she's a Democrat in office, this little flyover district that didn't even get listed in the Houston Chronicle this year about our race will turn the heads of the rest of the nation and get them focused back on what we need to be doing, which is problem solving.
Thank you so much. What qualifies you to represent us in Congress?
Well, as you guys know, I've represented people for 20 years. If you want to know the type of representative I've been, don't look at my campaign website. Everyone knows that's just fluff, right? Look at what my clients have said about me for the last 20 years. I'm a person who is very, very protective and compassionate for the people I feel like I have what's called a fiduciary duty to represent. When I go to Congress, I feel like I have a fiduciary duty to handle your money. It's your money that I'm spending. I feel like people forget that sometimes, right? So you have to be meticulous and thoughtful and careful with what you do with it. And also, I'm a zealous advocate. There's things that this district needs. We have an extraordinarily high maternal mortality rate in Texas, twice the national average, worse than any other developing country. We need to work on that. So my job, honestly, is to talk with you, the county judge, or the next county judge, or the mayor, and y'all tell me, Kathleen, I need these things, just like my clients do. Kathleen, I need to get custody of my kids. I need to get my money because I've lost my job. And then my job is to go up there and say, this is what they need. How can I get it? And that's why I believe I'm the best person for the job. I've done it for 20 years. And let's not forget, legislation makes laws. It's helpful to know a little something about the law.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. If you do accept the request from the audience, we will entertain one question.
Sure, that's fine.
One question.
Yes.
Social Security's budget this year is $1.3 trillion to administer to 74 million people. Doesn't that number seem a little bit upside down? And what would you do to fix that?
What I see, so I've been talking with people who I call the boots on the ground, the end users of grants, right? And from what I'm seeing, there's a whole lot of government oversight, which I translate into keeping yourself in a job. Like, in other words, we're wasting too much money on administration. So we need to figure out how we can streamline that Social Security, because a lot of that money is administrative. It's not people getting it. Go ahead.
Would you entertain the idea of maybe putting an investment account for each person in this country right now at a 6% per year compounded daily rate, $1 million, and let it fund itself through investment in the economy?
Are you saying privatize Social Security?
No, not privatizing. The government still owns the accounts until it's time to retire, and then it's given to the recipient as they go. But it's self-funded through interest and investing into the economy.
The reason why I don't think that'll work is because, and there's a lot of issues with Social Security. I'll tell you that right now, okay? Right now, how Social Security is administered, there's a lot of people who are getting far more than they paid in, like when there's a divorce. I could talk to you all day long about that. But to be blatantly honest, we're depending on future payers to fund the people now. So if we invested it, we would not be able to meet our current obligation.
In other words, we're running a Ponzi scheme right now, basically.
Well, I
would go to jail for today, but the government won't because they own the jail, their house. But in other words, taking $1 million and $330 million and investing in every citizen in this country and then allowing it to accrue interest at 6% every 12 years would double that fund, based on the rules of 72.
Mm-hmm. But you got to think about it. How are we going to get the 6% interest?
What is the average Social Security check? The median is $1,800.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to do that, the payment would be $3,333 per person across the board per month. If you based it out over a 40-year period, or 25-year period, when people hit 60 years old. And if you turn around when somebody's born and they go to 54 years old, that's going to be $16 million in that account that would self-fund, so it would perpetuate.
So, Ms. Brown, you're allowed to respond or not. That's certainly your choice.
Just very quickly, one of the things that I have to point out to you is a 6% is actually a pretty high interest rate. So if we were investing it in something that's 6%, it's going to have a high risk. That's the problem.
But the thing is, there are mutuals out there right now that are getting 18%.
Well, with all due respect, we have allowed you to have questions if they were related.
We could go
but-
afterwards.
I'm asking, why can't we find those funds and put them in those funds and let the government guarantee that and bring the interest rate up? When the interest rate was up around 18% across the board in the 80s, people prospered.
Exactly, but one of the fallacies is that, and I do this for future earnings that we reduce down to present value, is if you say, well, we'll put $333 in, 40 years ago, right, which is a lot of money back then, at 6% interest. The reality is that the cost of living, as we know in inflation, will actually eat away at that savings. So you actually are going to do worse. And I mean, it's complicated. I always get a forensic economist to help me when I'm doing a case, but it's called the present value of future money. And so usually if you have to take into account for inflationary periods, so in like, for instance, our inflationary period is 8.5%. Imagine how much we would have lost 2.5% if we had put that 6%, assuming we could have found something that pays that well. We would have actually lost money. But it's complicated. I use an expert all the time for that too. So.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, for
Thank you.
responding to that question. Thank you, sir, for asking it. You will have up to 30 seconds for your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to tell you guys that I'm going to tell you why I ran. I know I am not unaware of how Republican this district is, okay? I understand that. And I would have never run except for the storming of our Capitol. And there comes a time when we have to decide, is our policy differences more important than just what our basic foundation of democracy is? Listen, I'm going to always disagree about certain things about how we can spend their money. As a Democrat, if I have two $100 bills, this is how I think, and I can fund an elderly person a place to live for that $100, or I could build yet another, helicopter with it, I'm going to want to fight for funding housing for the elderly. That's me as a Democrat. Y'all should know that. But by the same token, if all we do is fight with one another, then no wonder the rest of us are so disgusted that only 29 to 30% of people vote, because it seems like all we're doing is spinning our wheels in the mud. So if you want change, the change has to start with you. Because this November, if you always do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. So hopefully you will consider voting for me November 8th.
Thank you, everyone. We have United States Congressional District of Texas 13 candidate, Ms. Kathleen Brown.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Prior to concluding this event, I just want to remind everyone that the Amarillo Branch NAACP exists to promote the educational, economic, social, and political equality of rights of all persons as we work to dismantle any discrimination or racial injustice anywhere throughout our nation. We're thankful to have the support of a community that has allowed us to continue to receive the benefits of your service, your time, and your money for approximately 78 years. The Amarillo Branch NAACP remains a nonprofit, nonpartisan, all-inclusive organization, and we're certainly appreciative to have been able to put a spotlight on just a few of the local races impacting us in this November 2022 general election. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to all members of the community who came out today or who may be watching this at a later time. We're grateful for your interest. Your voice is your vote. Please make sure you are registered. The Amarillo Branch NAACP will be hosting a voter registration drive on Saturday, October 1st at the Black Historical Cultural Center on 901 North Hayden Street from 10 a.m. to noon. So if you're interested in being registered to vote, that will be an opportunity for you, hosted by our branch. And we will have several details leading up to the election regarding deadlines, regarding election dates, and everything that is about this November election. Thank you for all that you do in our community, and thank you for your interest in what matters most, the vote. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.